And then we just pause it, right? Yeah, Stephanie, I think we pause it.
We are live.
Hey, you guys, welcome back. This is a series that we're doing on amazing leaders in our industry. And so if we haven't met, I'm Karen Mayer Cunningham, special education boss, training everyone that sits at the 504 IEP table to negotiate and navigate successful student outcomes. And I want to introduce you to my new friend, my mentor, my coach, Myron Golden. He is, I don't want him to be a well-kept secret. I want you guys to know about him. Myron has so many accolades, and we're going to go over a few of them, but he's an author, a pastor, a father, a grandfather of a perfect little grandchild. And he really is the coach's coach. I spend a lot of time in investing every year in personal development. And I've never found somebody that quite like Myron hits all the pieces for those of us that are entrepreneurs or self-employed. And so Myron, welcome to our webinar. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, so I have 800 questions and I whittled them down to 500 because I know you like a good question. So,
Cool.
first of all, tell us about this amazing book, From the Trashman to the Cashman, How Anyone Can Get Rich Starting from Anywhere.
So, a couple things about that book. One is it's not my story, even though it contains my story. So it literally is a financial literacy book. So it's my financial literacy brain in a book. Driving a trash truck for $6.25 an hour was the first job I got as a married man with a wife and child. That was my very first like grown man job, right? Driving a trash truck. That's what I did during the day. But in the evening, I went out and I sold financial services. I was licensed in insurance and I was licensed in investments, and I could sell mutual funds and life insurance and annuities and all that stuff. And so that's what I did on the side to subsidize my income from driving a trash truck and only making $6.25 an hour. Well, I learned how money works, and I learned, so many different financial literacy lessons. I learned that the primary difference between rich, poor, and middle class people is not how much money you make, but it's what you do with money after you get it. And so I just basically took all these principles that I learned about financial literacy that took me from being a trash man making $6.25 an hour to being the cash man. And our business generates right now an average of between $30,000 and $32,000 a day, and has for the last 3.5 years in a row, like 365 days a year for the last 3.5 years. So on average. So
and you're not mad about that, right?
No, that doesn't hurt my feelings. No, that don't hurt my feelings none.
Awesome. So, and then you've also
let me say this about that book also. If you buy it on Amazon, only buy the ebook, because the ebook on Amazon is only $10. If you buy the physical book on Amazon, it's not me selling it. So if you see it for $160 or $380 or $1,100, like I'm like, how's somebody selling a paperback book for $1,100? I've literally seen it on Amazon for $1,100. That's insane, right? You can just if you want the paperback book, you just go to my website and get it there, trashman-to-cashman.com. And I'm not trying to sell books. Like, we sell tons of books. I just don't want you to go to Amazon and spend $160 for it. So.
Yeah, and so we put it in the chat, a link to all things Myron, so that you'll be able to access him.
Cool. That's cool.
Tell us about this book that looks like you, like perfectly dressed for today. So this is an amazing. This is how I came to know about you, Boss Moves. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Boss Moves is my business brain in a book. What I like to share with people is I coach authors, speakers, coaches, agency owners, and other high-level entrepreneurs. We've got doctors, we've got attorneys, we've got dentists, we've got all kinds of like high-level entrepreneurs who've come through our programs. But I help them create, convey, and convert premium value offers better than any coach in the world and faster than any coach in the world. In fact, while other coaches are doing their best to help their clients have 6- and 7-figure years, we're actually helping our clients have 6- and 7-figure days. And we've got a bunch of them that are doing that. So.
Yeah, and so Myron, I've taken tons of courses over the years, how to build a funnel, which I didn't do, how to put stuff in the chat, get stuff out of the chat, how to be a salesperson, how to make content. I think something that's great about you is like you're the whole package, and I've never heard anybody articulate it quite the way that you do. And so when I think I came to know about you only in February, and it's August, and I was like, well, I'm gonna stalk him. This is amazing the way you articulate information and really, and I did. I'm going to skin you and wear you. That's what I do. And the way that you bring it all together, whether it's somebody that owns a cleaning business or is a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, what you provide in your Make More Offers challenge was life-changing. So can you tell us what is an offer?
An offer is an opportunity you give a potential client to exercise their desire to buy or otherwise obtain the thing or the things that you've helped them realize they've desired all along at a price that you previously decided on and they've subsequently agreed to, which they now expect to use to make their experience of life exponentially better. So basically, an offer is an opportunity to change their life.
Right. And so can you, and that was a lot of words and I love it. Can you tell us, can you break that down a little bit more for us?
Okay, so it's the opportunity. In other words, you're not forcing somebody to take it. If you're forcing somebody to take it, it's not an offer. It's an obligation, right? So
Right.
an offer is an opportunity you give a potential client. So they might be a client, they may not be a client. And you give them the opportunity to say yes to something that you've created for them as a solution
Right.
to a
And
problem that they know they have, not just a problem you know they have. The biggest problem, one of the biggest problems I see with entrepreneurs, Karen, is we create solutions for problems we know people have, and they're not even aware that they have the problem. So they're not
right.
buying it.
Right. Right. So can you tell me what the difference between selling somebody something and an offer is? You really changed my life when I took your
Well,
training.
well, there's a difference between selling. There's a difference between selling and convincing,
Yeah.
right? Selling is not convincing. Selling is persuasion. And persuasion is the opposite of convincing. And a lot of people think, well, selling is talking people into buying stuff they don't want, don't need, and can't afford. No, that's what you resort to when you're not good at selling.
Right.
Okay? So what's the difference between selling or persuasion and convincing? Convincing is when I attempt to get you to do something I desire you to do for my reasons. So the person I'm thinking about when I'm convincing is me.
Right.
But persuasion is when I help you make a decision you already desire to make for your own reasons. Like, I just believe people are smart, Karen. I believe they know what they desire, and they know whether or not they believe you can help them get that thing. So,
Right.
like, attempting to convince them or trick them into buying something is not only a bad idea, it's just kind of a stupid waste of time.
Right. I remember when I took your when I first started working with you and I did your boot camp, and you literally said, and it wasn't the takeaway clothes or all that stuff that I learned when I was selling caskets, and I was very good at it. But you literally said, because a lot of things you're going to need, that's one of them. You literally said, if you take the offer, great. If you don't, it's fine too. And I believed you. And so, talk about when
Oh,
people
there was no pressure.
no, no.
None.
And you
Yeah.
meant it. And so the first time it wasn't right for me, and the second time it was right for me. You know, so many people in my space, in the special needs space or parent space, or I just think everybody now in 2024 is wanting to do a side hustle, a business. How does somebody find out what is the right business for them?
Well, first of all, you have to have a skill, right? You have to have an ability to provide a solution to someone else's problem. Like I did a video a while ago that I posted on YouTube called "Money is Not Wealth." Okay, so if money is not wealth, what is wealth? Wealth is your ability to solve a problem for someone other than yourself, right? And so when I think about like, okay, how do I create like something that someone else desires to buy? I obsess over their problem instead of obsessing over their money. I obsess over their problem so that when I talk to them about the problem, they know, or at least they feel like I've spent more time thinking about how to solve this problem than they have.
Right.
So if I understand the problem better than you, then you're automatically going to conclude that I understand the solution better than you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You know, and lots of programs that I've taken and invested a large amount of money in, the first thing that they have you do, the Rowdy Canadians, when I started this 15 years ago, they were like, go and write down 15 of your competitors, come back and tell me what they charge. Tell me why that's not a good idea.
Well, because It has nothing to do with you. Why, what, it not only, not only is it a good idea, it's an insanely horrible idea, because what your competitors, so-called competitors, are selling has nothing to do with the transformation you can create. A lot of times your competitors got their prices from their competitors.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense for me to start a business and then I have to pay the cost of doing that business. I have to pay my employees. I have to pay for the cost of goods. And then I let somebody that I don't even know set the prices because they're in a similar business. It just doesn't make sense.
Right. And so how do people distinguish between when they're setting their price? What is the difference between, the price and the value?
Well, for me, the difference between the price and the value is the value, in my opinion, it would be ideal if the value is always 10 times bigger than the price.
Right.
I have this saying, when the value is this big and the price is this big, they always buy. And it doesn't matter what number you put in the space, right? That's why we have clients who pay us $1 million a year for business coaching, because $1 million a year still fits in here because the value is 10 million.
Right.
Right. And so what I recommend people do when they're creating a price, sit down, figure out what it's costing your potential client not to have this solution, and then divide that amount by 10. That's a good price.
Right. People always say, well, how much is it going to cost to have a special education advocate? I go, it's a car repair. It could be an air filter, and you might need a transmission. Right. And I find that people they're not really tied to the price. They're tied to the outcome. Can you talk about the difference between price and outcome?
So let me say this, if I may do this even before I do it. Somebody says, well, how much does it cost? So how much does it cost? That's a good question. Are you asking me how much does it cost if you say yes, or are you asking me how much it costs if you say no? Because both of them have a cost. Right. And so what happens, I believe, one of the mistakes that a lot of people in sales make is we tell people how much it costs them if they say yes to our offer, but we never show them how much it costs if they say no. And usually if they say no to our offer, it's going to cost them way more. Like I've got clients who've had $1 million days. So it would have cost them $1 million in a day had they said no to my $55,000 offer, let's say, right? So, but your question wasn't that, but when you said that, it just triggered that in me.
Yeah.
So what was your question again?
The difference how do I know the difference between the price and the value?
Yeah. So the value is how much the transformation is worth, like the thing that they could not do before you and cannot do without you.
Right.
How much is that worth? You divide that by 10. That's a good price.
Right. That's so good. So good. So, when you're training entrepreneurs, and you really are the coach's coach, and I have nothing but admiration for you, and when you take all those questions, I love the way that you provide value online. So when I'm training my advocates, I have the opportunity to train people all over. I'm like, you got to get out there and you got to serve people. You got to serve people. So can you talk about? I remember one of the phrases that you said. I'm going to mess it up. Make yourself so findable that when somebody wants your solution, they're willing to exchange their money for your outcome. Is that right?
Something like that, yeah. You combine two of them, but I like the way you did that, right? Okay. So one is people say, Myron, where can I find people to sell my stuff to? Well, you're asking the wrong question. A better question would be, how can I make myself more findable for people who already want to buy what I already want to sell? That's a better question. Why? Because there's stuff, everybody watching this webinar right now, everybody watching us have this conversation right now, they already have some stuff on their, I can't wait to get paid so I can buy this list. Right? Yes. And so everybody has an I can't wait to get paid so I can buy this thing list, right? Yes. And so we all have to figure out, how can I create so much value in the marketplace that people start to put me on their list, right? Because if people have a desired outcome and they've been looking, not finding anybody who can help them get the desired outcome, all of a sudden they come across me and I can help them get the desired outcome. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to buy the thing that I'm offering, right? It's a total no-brainer for them. Okay, cool. I forgot how you worded the question, because I answered part of it, but I didn't answer the other part.
So when you provide content, make yourself findable.
Okay, right. So the other thing is you provide what I like to call community service content. So here's one of the things that I do. I post on my Bible study YouTube channel. I do one live video a week. on my business YouTube channel, I do one live video a week and one recorded video a week, and then a bunch of shorts. Okay, so I provide that value on YouTube, and I don't charge for it, even though if I took the same content and put it in a course, I could sell it for lots of money.
Right.
So why do I give away content that I could have sold? Because it's never a good idea to give away something that you could not have sold for a profit. Because if you give away something that you couldn't have sold, all you're doing is showing people that you're not good. And so you're creating a negative reputation. But if you give away something and they know you could have sold it because they go do something with it and they get a result off this free video, now they're like, oh, if this person made me this much money or created this much transformation in me, and I didn't even have to pay them, I can't even begin to imagine how much they'll help me if I pay them. And that's the person you want to be. You want to be the person who, like Frank Kern says, proves to people that you can help them by actually helping them. Jim Rohn said something so fascinating. He said Jesus had a presentation that was the most powerful presentation in history. He gave this presentation. People would drop their nets. They would leave their businesses. They would leave their family. They would not leave their family for good, but they would go and follow Jesus all over the countryside. And his presentation was 2 words: follow me. And then Jim Rohn asked the question, how could this presentation be so short and yet be so powerful? And the answer to me is one of the most beautifully mind-blowing answers I've ever heard to any question. And here's what he said: because of all that he was that he didn't have to talk about. And so many people go through life attempting to make up in words what they lack in substance. So don't, live a life that's so dynamic and so impactful and so helpful and so service-focused that you don't have to be verbose because you haven't provided any assistance to people.
So good. So good. And we're in such a great age. It's like this is your free brick and mortar. If you want,
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
People pay for 2 things: convenience and expertise. And you provide that in such an amazing way. And you should watch his Bible study at 9:00 Eastern time on the East Coast, whatever that is, on Thursdays. His content is ridiculous. So can you tell us a little bit about going from a few thousand followers on the tube? Actually, when I Googled you, you're a YouTuber, and I hope that I'm seeing you next week in Dallas. But tell the people about growing.
Next week in Dallas. What's going on in Dallas?
Vid Summit.
Oh yeah, I won't be there.
What? I'll pick you up from the airport. Just fly in. Just send here to see Karen.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I didn't even realize it was happening. I've just got so much going on.
Yeah. Well, you can go to vidsummit.com and get last year's training from 2023, and Myron's one of the amazing trainers. But tell us a little bit about how you grew your YouTube. You're on all sorts of channels, but your YouTube presence.
Yeah. So just so y'all can know, you don't have to know everything, and you don't even have to be that smart. I signed up. I created my YouTube channel March 15th, 2007, Karen. March 15th, 2007. Now, and I probably posted 50 videos in 15 years.
Oh.
Right? Maybe 50, right? It was not until 14 years later, October of 2021, that I knew that YouTube paid people for posting videos. I didn't even know. I had a channel that was monetizable for years. They would have been paying me for years if I had just pushed a button and said, okay, pay me for these videos, for putting ads on these. I didn't know it was a thing. I was at a conference, this guy's talking about YouTube, and I'm like, wait, YouTube pays people for putting videos? What are you talking about, bro? Anyway, and that was there. So anyway, fast forward. So that was October of 2021. February of 2022, which is 2.5 years ago, we turned on monetization, right? So I was on YouTube for 15 years before I turned on monetization. 15 years. So you don't have to be a genius.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, I was pacing myself. I was pacing myself. That's what I was doing. Okay. And so I turned on monetization, and our first month, Karen, with no new videos, we hadn't put up a new video since June of the previous year. With no new videos, we did $305 in YouTube ad revenue are when we just by pushing a button. Like, so I went to the guy who's on my team, who's like part of our marketing department. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I didn't even go to him. He called me. He's like, hey, you made $305 on YouTube last month. I said, for what? He said, for these videos. What videos? We haven't created any new videos. For the ones you already have on YouTube. Oh, okay. And I didn't think anything else of it until the next month. He said, we made $353 this month. I'm like, for what? What are you talking about? Like, it still didn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first 2 months of monetization. We made $658. Our first 2 months of monetization. It's so weird because to me, that blew my mind. Not because of the amount of money. Well, any amount of money. They're sending me money for creating videos? This is, okay, cool. So March 1st, March 1st, 2022, I decided I'm going to do one video a week for the next 10 years and see if I can get good at this YouTube thing, right? And so we did one video a week. So we did 4 videos in March. YouTube paid us $1,500 and I think $1,570. What? What is like? It didn't even make any sense to me. Now I'm even more confused. I'm like, okay, well, if they did that much for one video, let's do 2 videos a week, right? So we were now at 8 videos we did in April. It went from I know this sounds so stupid. Like when I say this, it doesn't even sound like it's possible. We went from $1,570 to $15,700 the next month. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward. We had, by the way, when I started March 1st, 2022, we had 10,593 subscribers or something like that, right? Today, we have 761,000 subscribers in 2.5 years. So we're up over 750,000 subscribers in 2.5 years. Yeah. And by the way, and I'm not pretending to be humble. I'm very serious when I say this. I'm not even good at YouTube yet. I'm not even good at it yet. But I work on getting better at it literally every single day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't work on figuring out how to make some aspect of my YouTube channel better.
Right.
So anyway, that's the long answer to your YouTube question.
No, I love that. And one of the first things that Myron taught me in the coaching program was to add 2 more videos. I was like, what does he know? Probably knows something, right? And literally in the 2.5 months I've been working with them, I'm up 2,500 new subscribers. And so,
let's go.
I don't have an hour thing. I just do videos. And so talk about how important that is to add value to people when you're serving your audience. I heard a stat the other day, it might have been you, that 70% of Americans want to be self-employed, but only 6% make that. So why do you think that?
Yeah, that wasn't me, but that, well, I think there are a whole bunch of reasons. Well, primary reason, most people have been programmed their whole lives. They've been programmed to become employees for somebody else. So the idea, and because to most people, having a job feels more secure than starting a business, right? I like what Benjamin Franklin said, though. Benjamin Franklin said, if you seek security, you have no independence. So freedom and security are at odds with each other.
Right.
I like what Robert G. Allen said. He said, there are 2 doors in life. One is marked freedom. The other one is marked security. He said, if you choose the door marked security, you get neither. But if you choose the door marked freedom, you get both.
Wow. That's so good.
Isn't it good?
That's so good.
And so when it comes to why do I believe that so few people are entrepreneurs? Because they've been programmed to believe that it's too hard for them by what I call the cultural hypnotic societal mechanism. They program us to believe that it's too risky and too dangerous, and so therefore we have all of this manufactured anxiety around starting a business because we think it's hard. But the reality is, if you have a job, you've already closed the sale, right? You got a $50,000 a year job. You've already closed somebody on a $50,000 deal.
Yeah, you took their offer.
You took their offer and they took yours.
Yes.
Right? You all exchanged. They offered you $50,000 a year, and you offered them to sell them 8 hours of your life every day for $50,000. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know how that's less scary, that all of your livelihood is dependent on someone other than you. I don't know how that's less scary or than, like, at least I know what I'm going to do.
Right.
Right. So I know I can count on me because I've become a person that can be counted on. So anyway.
And nobody comes in and gives you a pink slip. I think it's so interesting. I went last week and got to see the great John Maxwell just for a day in Orlando, and it was a few $100s. And people were like, "Why
You were in Orlando and you didn't come see me? What are you doing?"
I was in Winter Haven, Florida. I'm like, I feel like
that's
Myron's
50,
gonna.
that's 50 miles, literally
I know
50 miles from here.
you were with your inner circle, and I was
Oh,
like,
okay,
Myron's
gotcha.
gonna walk over one of these golf holes. I can just know it. And I think it's so funny how I don't have any credentials. I am not a college graduate, but I'm not a quitter. I signed up for more colleges than most people did. But it's amazing to me that people will send their kid to a 20-year college that indoctrinates them for $200,000, but won't spend $400 to go to a day of professional development. Talk about how
It's mind
important
blowing,
that
isn't
is.
it? It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. But that's all part of the programming. We are, like, most people are sheeple, right?
People.
Right. And and we don't, most people don't think, they just think they think. And the reality is, you could, like, if you really cared enough, you could read a book that, you could read a book that changes your life. I've read many books that have changed my life. I read a book last week or week before last that blew my mind, changed my life, and opened up so much understanding of me for me. You know what the name of the book was, Karen? The Gift of Dyslexia. It was so good.
Oh yeah.
It was so good. Have you read it?
No, but I know all of my kiddos that the special ed gift that we all have to work so hard.
Oh, it is. Oh, that book was so eye-opening and mind-blowingly good. So anyway, like the difference between where you are and where you'd like to be is exactly the same as the difference between what you know and what you haven't learned and implemented yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so good. I read an amazing book yesterday, 72 Minutes, Exactly What to Say by
Oh,
Phil
that's a
Jones.
great book, isn't it? Isn't that
I
great
have
book?
to
Isn't that a
call
great book?
Omar and say, stop interviewing people. I can't afford it. And it's so good, right? And it's amazing that you would invest in watching the Dallas Cowgirls, sorry, for a whole year, wear their outfits. They don't even know about you. How important is it to invest in yourself, to always be sharpening your axe?
Oh, it's the most important thing. You are your greatest asset.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, and if you don't invest, if you don't think you're worth it, if you are not worth you investing in, nobody else is going to invest in themselves through you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So good. So I wanted to ask you, what is who is I have lots of different people on our webinars. Who is the Make More Offer Challenge for? And I know, because I sat in your room full of 1,000 people in Tampa, and I just want you to know that I disagree and I'm in non-consensus with your spoken word utterance that you weren't having another live thing. So we're just taking off the table. I don't receive that. So
I didn't realize I knew you were funny. I didn't know you were this funny. You're funny.
You know I'm an actual stand-up comedian, right?
I did not know that, but it's not surprising now. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Ask any of my husbands; they love it. Yeah. So tell us who the Make More. Listen, I'm not a quitter, right? If at first you don't succeed, get another one, right? So tell us who the Make More Offer Challenge is for, because I know from being in them, like I've never seen so many vocations.
Right. Yeah, we've had people who are doctors, lawyers, dentists, chiropractors, authors, speakers, coaches, mechanics, food truck operators.
Yeah.
Like people who run grief businesses that are like funeral homes, but they're not funeral homes. People who sell insurance, people who sell real estate investors, people who have agencies like Facebook ad agencies, email marketing. Like, there are so many different vocations. If you have an offer or would like to create an offer and learn how to find your fortune in offer creation, the Make More Offers Challenge is for you. And there are 4 types of offers. There are lead generation offers, core product offers, premium value offers, and continuity offers. Those are the 4 types of offers that we cover in the Make More Offers Challenge.
So good, so good. And so we're going to put that link to All Things Myron in there. Tell us about the 4 levels, which I can see the 4 little steps.
4 levels of value?
The 4 levels of value. And I've been at all of them, but when you say it, it just like paints a picture. So share that with our audience.
Yeah. So what's really interesting is I'm gonna begin this My Rant with when a politician says they're going to solve income inequality, you can know they are always lying. Why? Because income does not exist in a vacuum. Income is the result of something. What is income the result of? Income is the result of value creation. I mean, unless, of course, you're cheating people or embezzling or stealing or otherwise taking advantage of people. But for those of us who are honest people, income is the result of value creation. So if you don't solve value creation inequality, you cannot solve income inequality. Now, here's the kicker, though. Most people make the mistake of thinking that if you want to make more money, you have to create more value. But what you have to do if you want to make more money is not create more value at your current level, but create a higher level of value. So there are 4 levels of value. I found this in Genesis chapter 1, by the way, Karen. So 4 levels of value. The lowest level of value is implementation. The resource you use on that level of value is you use your muscles over time. And what does that mean? That means you're actually physically doing some kind of manual labor. You're lifting something, you're moving something, you're carrying something, you're cleaning something, you're fixing something, you're driving something, you're pushing something, pulling something. You use your muscles over time. And wealth is a spiritual outcome. Muscles are a physical resource. Spiritual things have no limit. They're limitless, right? Wealth is a spiritual outcome. Muscles are a physical resource. Time is a limited resource. When you multiply a physical resource times a limited resource, you can only produce a limited outcome. That's why you can't produce wealth with physical labor. And I know we've been taught our whole life, well, if you want to be successful, work harder. Well, work harder, but don't work harder because it's going to make you more successful. Work harder because it's going to make you a better person.
Right.
However, I stayed at a hotel last night. Yesterday was my 39th anniversary, so 39 years. And so my wife wanted to stay at the Grand Hyatt. So I'm like, okay, let's go to the Grand Hyatt, overlook the Tampa Bay. It's going to be great. We got a nice executive suite on the 10th floor. And interesting thing about it, when we checked into the hotel, the room was clean. Isn't that fascinating?
Amazing.
Yeah, the room was clean. The towels were clean. The sheets were clean. The bathroom was clean. The room was clean. It was a clean room. Guess what? Hotel rooms don't clean themselves, right? People have to do that. Guess what? In a hotel, the hardest working people in the hotel, by far, are the housekeeping staff. By far.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the people who make the least amount of money in the hotel are the housekeeping staff. Why? Because hard work is not the formula for success. It is the formula for exhaustion. So if you want to be exhausted, hey, work harder. Now, I'm not saying don't work hard. Work hard at the things you're working on, but don't make the mistake of thinking that just because you're working hard, that automatically means you deserve to be richer. So that's the lowest level. Lowest level of value is implementation. Next level is unification. You're like on the lowest level, you're the person who does the thing. On the next level, you're no longer the person who does the thing. You're the person who manages the people who do the thing. So unification is the second level of value. On the lowest level of value, you make somewhere between minimum wage and $80,000 a year. On the second level of value, on the low end, if you're managing a Taco Bell, you might make $40,000 a year. On the high end, if you're a manager at Lockheed Martin, you might make $250,000 a year, right? But the resource you use on this level are your management skills. And the reason you make more money on the unification level than you do the implementation level is because managing people is a higher spiritual activity than doing the thing yourself. Okay. Wealth is not created on those bottom 2 levels generally. I mean, you can create some wealth with the money that you make on either one of those levels, but you don't create wealth on either one of those levels. Wealth begins to be created on the next 2 levels of value. So the second to the highest level of value is communication. The resource we use on that level is our mouth. We use our mouth to create messages that move the masses and have conversations that create cash flow. The caveat is this: you have to have a mouth, and you have to do something most people are unwilling to do. You have to learn how to use it, right? So, on the communication level, the low end of your income might be $100,000 a year if you sell insurance or you sell cars or you sell real estate or whatever. So that's the lowest level of value. That's the low end of the communication level. On the high end, you might make $100 million if you're an A-list singer or an A-list actor or an A-list songwriter or an A-list novelist. You might make $100 million as an A-list author, right? So there are levels to the game even within each level. So, but on the communication level, wealth can be created. For instance, you talked about this book. I wrote this book in 2006. It is still relevant today. Here, you want to know something fascinating, Karen? This book right here generates for us between $7,000 and $18,000 a month from work that I did 18 years ago. That's mind blowing. Okay, this book right here, the other book that you talked about, this book generates for us between $35,000 and $70,000 a month. I wrote this book in 2021. I wrote this book 3 years ago. You know, now that I said that, why have I not written more books? Okay, anyway, so, right, exactly. That needs to happen. That needs to happen like stat. So that's from work that I did. That's communication level stuff. What's the highest level of value? Highest level of value is imagination. So I'm going to name a company, Karen. Just say the first company. I'm going to name a company. Say the first person who comes to your mind. You ready? Apple Corporation.
Steve Jobs.
Everybody says Steve Jobs. Do you know Steve Jobs died 13 years ago, and everybody still says Steve Jobs when you say Apple? Tim Cook is now the CEO, has been the CEO since 2011. Wait, Steve Jobs didn't even invent the Apple computer. Steve Wozniak did that. Nobody ever says Steve Wozniak. Nobody ever says Tim Cook. Why do people say Steve Jobs? Because Steve Jobs was the Imagineer who conjured up in his mind what Apple could become.
Right.
And the people who have the best ideas that get implemented and communicated and unified properly, those are the people who change the world the most and create the most wealth.
And I believe everybody has all four of these seeds inside of them.
100%.
And that we just need to, you know, if you're gonna build a muscle by resistance, we need to get to work. And I think that when people, you know, one of the things I tell my advocates is do the hard thing to get the payoff. And it's funny, a year later, they're like, you told me to do that. I didn't believe you. And when you start to do this content and serving and teaching, you're going to get better because people will tell you how bad you are or what you need to fix. I don't know why that green thing's back there. And I didn't like what you said. People will give you their couch coach from the beginning. But I think there's...
Oh, I like that. Couch coach. That's good.
Yeah. There's greatness in all of us. And I desperately want people to stop spending... I saw a stat the other day that people spend 9 years of their life watching TV. What a waste of who we were called to be. And I believe that what we're called to be is, I always say that God birthed my greatest call out of my biggest pain. And that intersection of experience and struggle is how I serve other people. And I think
100%.
It's not just for you. It's not just for me. It's not just for Omar. It's for all of us. And I want people to get re-excited about who they're called to be.
So good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And so when we get to train people and equip them, you know, our job is to equip the saints, sometimes the ain'ts. But anyway, it's that they can go out and be who they're called to be with this amazing little vehicle called this. And so I want you guys to join the Make More Offers Challenge. It will make your head hurt. You won't need caffeine that week because you're not going to sleep. It's just such
you ain't going to sleep. No, you ain't. You're going to do a lot of stuff, but sleep ain't one of them, is it, Karen?
Yeah, and then he comes back the next day. I'm like, I'm still, and the great thing about Myron is it's all meat, and he doesn't care about your feelings. He cares about your legacy, and for that, I honor him, and I'm so grateful that he doesn't, you know, waffle, waver, or water it down, ATF. He just doesn't do that. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, even better. And so I want you to partner with him. I want you to get these books, get them so that you can give them to your mother-in-law at Thanksgiving. But they're such quick reads. They're so amazing. Get to one of his events that he's going to have live, whether he likes it or not. But anybody that you know in business, he will teach you to operate at your highest level, which means you serve the most people. So we're all going to make money. I like money. I'm not opposed to money. Zig Ziglar said money is not the most important thing, but it is right up there with oxygen, right? And
You
so,
got to have it every day to live, and if you don't have enough of it, you feel like you can't breathe.
I'm stealing all of this, Myron. I'm going to put it in a comedy special, and I'll give you credit.
Indeed.
Yes.
I
So,
would definitely watch one of your comedy routines. That would be fun.
I'm gonna send it to you. I had the blessing of being on Dry Bar Comedy. It was amazing. I had my
Oh,
pantyhose
you
on.
gotta you gotta send it to me.
Yeah, because if you're not wearing pantyhose, I don't really know that you're going to heaven. So, Stephanie, I could talk for 1,000 years. I know that we have some questions that were sent in ahead of time. Do you want to read those to Myron?
Yes. What is one skill every entrepreneur should learn?
Oh, how to sell. How to sell what people want to buy instead of wanting to sell what they want to sell.
So good.
Yeah. Skill of selling.
What is the best advice you've received? Best professional advice you've ever received?
Wow, that's a good question. The best professional advice I've ever received, man, there's so many. So many are coming to mind. I don't know which one to pick. So I'm going to pick the one that Dagan Smith gave me in 2011 that I ignored for 10 years. Okay? Because that's the one that I kicked myself the most over. He said, Myron, you're really good when you get in front of people in a live room and you have a whiteboard and you're explaining things to people. You should take that show and take it online. And I'm like, okay, that's a great idea. And so I proceeded not to do it for the next 10 years until they created the propagandemic. And when they did that, then I said, well, I can't do this event live because they won't let us come to the hotel, so we'll move it online. And we did like $300,000 or $400,000 in sales. I'm like, what? There's that much money in this computer and I've not been getting to it? Oh, let me pay attention. And so that's probably the best, that's the most profitable advice anyone's ever given me. And I didn't pay attention to it for 10 years. So don't be like me and waste 10 years of your life doing it the hard way when you can follow Dagan's advice. So
good.
What daily habits contribute most to your success?
Daily habits. So I'm going to talk about my favorite daily habit first. Cold plunging. I get every morning, I didn't do it this morning because I wasn't at home. But I will tomorrow morning. Tonight when I go home, I will crank my cold plunge tank down to 39 degrees so that the water is 39 degrees, and I will get up in the morning and I will soak in that cold plunge tank for 5 minutes, maybe even 8 tomorrow because I have more time. But the longest I've ever done it is 24 minutes. And I'll soak in that cold plunge tank, and the level of invigoration that comes from that is almost unimaginable. Now, at first, when you first start doing it, it's really painful, but that's the thing I look forward to the most when I wake up in the morning is my cold plunge. It's very invigorating. It's anti-inflammatory. I usually work out in the evenings, so when I'm in pain when I wake up in the morning from working out the night before. But I don't want to cold plunge and get rid of the inflammation because it also the workout won't produce as much. So I get rid of the inflammation in the morning so that I can go through my day feeling just enlivened. So that's my primary. I have a whole bunch of routines that I do, but that's the one. And so some people say, well, why cold plunging? Because it is the hardest thing that I ever do. It's not hard anymore, but when I first started doing it, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And if I start my day by doing the thing that was the hardest thing physically that I've ever done, it lets me know there's nothing I can't do for the rest of that day.
That is great. Thank you for that. How do you stay motivated during challenging times?
By realizing that the difficulties, there is no destiny without difficulty. There's no advancement without adversity. There's no strength without struggle. Our haters are our elevators. If Jesus would not have had haters, he would have never been crucified. If he had not been crucified, there would be no salvation. I believe, how do I stay motivated? I stay motivated during difficult times because I know that difficult times are what God uses to prepare me for what he already has prepared for me and to get me ready for what he is getting me ready for. And if I don't, when I go through this difficulty, it is this very difficulty that's so painful right now is the thing that will make me strong enough to stay there when I get there, wherever there is.
So good.
Thank you.
What role does networking play in an entrepreneur's business?
Major role. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's not just what you know, it's not just who you know, it's who they know. Like your network will be a major contributing factor to your net worth. Because there are people that are in your life right now that will open doors for you that you cannot open for yourself.
What advice do you have for entrepreneurs who are having difficulty handling fluctuations in cash flow?
Couple of things. The reason you're having fluctuations in cash flow is probably one of two reasons. Either your messaging around your offer is not clear enough, and or you don't have any continuity revenue. The purpose of continuity revenue is to stabilize your business. So, for instance, our payroll is over $100,000 a month, right? Like for our company, it's over $100,000 a month. But our continuity is over 200, I'll just say over 200 something thousand dollars a month. So just from recurring revenue orders, in fact, if I had my phone, I could look at it. So like just from recurring revenue orders, we generate about somewhere between $27,000 and $32,000 a week. Then we have monthly, those are weekly recurring revenue orders. Then we have monthly recurring revenue orders as well, right? So all of that stuff put together make sure that, like, even if I don't sell any books, I don't do any challenges, I don't make any premium value offer sales, we have enough money coming in just from our continuity offers to make sure that everybody on my team gets paid and we don't have to lay anybody off.
Thank you for that. What is one business process entrepreneurs should automate immediately if it is not already right now?
What is one business process entrepreneurs should automate if it's not already automated right now? Lead generation. Lead generation. It's because if you automate lead generation and you have some kind of platform that you are attracting an audience on, people are going to seek you out and they're going to find you. Here's what I mean by that. Karen heard of me before I heard of her, right? Why? She didn't hear of me because I was standing out. What town do you live? You live in Houston, right?
Yes.
She didn't hear me because I was downtown Houston, like standing on a street corner saying, "Hey, everybody, my name's Myron Golden." No, I didn't do that. I just put out content, and I've got automated funnels for lead generation. And she put her name and email address in one of those places and then got some information. And then she came eventually and bought something. And now she's bought several somethings, right? And so have thousands of other people. So automate your lead generation, because in the words of my good friend Daniel Priestley, the author of Oversubscribed and Key Person of Influence, two of my favorite books.
Yes.
Everything in business is downstream from lead generation.
So good. And that's why you need to be online.
Yes. And lead generation is downstream from audience building.
Yes. Yes.
So,
As entrepreneurs are scaling their business, what cost-saving tips can you share with them?
what cost-saving tips that can I share with them? I don't know. I don't generally think of business in those terms, in full disclosure. So I would see, poor people value money more than they value time. So all of their thoughts are around, how can I save this money? As a rich person, we value time way more than we value money. So our questions are, how can we save this time? And so, like, I don't think in terms of cost savings generally. Okay, unless, what's the greatest cost savings you can like figure out how to legally avoid as much taxation as you possibly can, and do that through your investments and through your financial planning. But other than saving money on taxes, because I hate taxation without representation, like I'm usually thinking in terms of saving time more than I'm thinking in terms of saving money. Which kind of didn't answer your question, but it was the best one I got.
That's okay. What's one financial mistake that you learned from that you would feel is good for entrepreneurs that are just now starting out?
Tell them your big house story. Tell them your big house story and your car story.
Oh yeah. So I upgraded my lifestyle too big too soon. I thought I was a big baller. I was making $70,000 to $100,000 a month. So I was making some decent money. Sometimes I'd make even $200,000 a month, but it wasn't $200,000 a month was not consistent. It was every now and then, but $100,000 a month was pretty consistent. And I bought $1 million house. It was huge. I mean, we're talking about finished basement, including the finished basement. It was over 8,000 square feet, right? It was huge. Okay. I mean, to me, that was huge, right? And I owned $300,000 worth of cars, but that was 3 cars. I mean, my cars are a little more expensive than that now. But that was 3 cars. And right after I bought that house, they created the recession. And I went through all of this stuff. Like I upgraded my lifestyle too big, too fast. And my income went from $100,000 a month down to almost nothing in like the matter of a couple of years. Well, you don't pay off $1 million house in a couple of years, right? So I ended up having to short sell that house for like $600 and something thousand. And I kept 2 of the cars. The other car got me possessed, right? You say, don't you mean repossessed? No, repossessed is when they come get it. Me possessed is when me take it back to them, right? So I took it, I said, where y'all want me to bring this car? Because I ain't paying y'all anymore. I don't have the money, right? So it got me possessed. And so that was a mistake. I upgraded my lifestyle too fast. Now I make way more money than I used to make back then. And my life is so simple. I live in a nice little 3,500 square foot house in a gated community. The house costs less than half as much as that other house that I bought. And I've got some relatively expensive cars, whatever that means. But like I could literally live off of 3% of my revenue or less.
Did you keep that 68 Pontiac GTO?
Oh, literally just drove it today. It was so much fun.
With the top down?
No, I drove with the top up today. I'm glad I did too, because it started raining. But the top's coming down. Yeah, that's my favorite car. I've wanted that car since I was 17 years old, and I'm driving it, and it's like, it's all, cars from the 60s are loosey-goosey. They're like, you're driving, right? Yeah. And I'm like, how do we ever feel safe driving stuff like this? But I'm like, I love this car, and it's, 60s muscle car. Yeah. It just doesn't get any better than that. Yeah. So I got time for one more question. All right. I gotta eat. I'm about to pass out. I got to eat.
Yeah.
This is a great one as we close it out and are talking a little bit more about Make More Offers, the challenge. So how do you assess new opportunities, and what can everyone expect as they go into the Make More Offers challenge?
So I assess new opportunities by looking at whether or not they are in line with the purpose for my life, because people bring me opportunities all the time. And some of the opportunities are great opportunities to make money, but if they don't fit in with my purpose, it's always a hard no. Second, how would I advise people to prepare for the Make More Offers Challenge? When you register for the Make More Offers Challenge, my best advice is do the VIP experience. It's the risk-free experience. The VIP is $297. The general admission is only $97. If you do the VIP, it comes with a 10 times better than money back guarantee, which literally means if you don't believe it was worth 10 times what you paid for it, on Friday, I'm going to remind you to get a refund. That's how good it is. Like, I know it's good, so I'm not worried. Like, I'm going to remind you. Like, if you didn't feel like it was worth 10 times, now you do have to make sure you're there every day, and you have to make sure you have your camera turned on and you're paying attention, so that I'm not just giving your money back because you decided to join the challenge and go watch the Flintstones or whatever people watch on television these days. But so do the VIP experience. If you can't do the VIP experience, do the general admission. There's no money back guarantee, but the VIP experience, in the VIP experience, you get an extra hour each day where you get to listen to me answer questions for VIP Platinums, and I'll answer some questions you have, even though you may or may not be the one asking it. And so that, and then make sure you go through all the bonus material before you come to the challenge so that you're ready. So that's how I would recommend that you prepare.
Myron, thank you so much for your time. You're such a vessel of knowledge, and you're so generous with that. So you guys, doesn't really matter when you're seeing this, he has a challenge coming around the corner. Make time for you, invest this very small amount in you. This is going to reignite that thing that's already in you so that you can go out and go tell it on a mountain, because that's what you're supposed to do. So Myron, thank you for coming, and we'll see you guys in the next challenge.
Make sure you send me your comedy routine.
Oh, I'm sending it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you so much.
Have
We
a great day.
appreciate it. Bye-bye.